Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for another day. Please bless us and keep us alive. Cover us under your blood, and please may you bless this afternoon service that we are giving to you. In the name of the Lord, amen. Amen.
The first song we'll be singing is I Look Down the Road and I Wonder.
I look down the road and I wonder, oh,
The next song we're gonna sing is Sitting at the Welcome Table.
Please may you stand as we sing this song. They said divides.
So the left side is going to be Feast on Milk and Honey, and then the right side we're going to be singing Wear My Long White Robe.
We need more people on this side.
Can 2 people or 3 go on that side, please? From this side. Can we please? Can 2 more people go, please?
One more.
One more, please. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Go, 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 please.
Any.
Please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh yeah. I'm gonna
Feast on milk and honey.
I'm gonna feast on milk and honey one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna feast on milk and honey. Feast on milk and honey one of these days. Sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh yeah. I'm gonna wear my long white robe. I'm gonna wear my long white robe one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna wear my long white robe. Wear my long white robe one of these days. And milk and honey. Sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh yeah. I'm gonna meet my loving Jesus. I'm gonna meet my loving Jesus one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna meet my loving Jesus. Meet my loving Jesus one of these days. Oh yeah. Feast on milk and honey. Sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh yeah. Gonna sing and never get tired. I'm gonna sing and never get tired one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sing and never get tired. Sing and never get tired. Wear my long white robe. Wear my long white robe. Sing on milk and honey. Sit at the welcome table one of these days. Oh yeah.
Happy Sabbath, church. We are instruments of praise, and today we will be blessing you with 2 pieces, Kumbaya and To God Be the Glory. For Kumbaya, I really want to hear the men. Yeah?
Well done. Mario? but I have been truly blessed by our young leaders. And if these are the hands that we have for the future, we are in good and safe hands. Amen? Amen. So let's continue to pray for them daily, because if ever they need our prayers, it's now where the enemy will see that God is using them in such a mighty way. So this afternoon, you're here for a program about exploitation, and we are blessed to have Brother Ben Dancy from Beckenham SDA Church. He's a youth justice officer, and he's been so for over 20 years, 25 to be exact. And he brings to us a wealth of knowledge about a critical issue affecting all of us. And I hope you will listen attentively, you'll participate, you'll ask questions, and I'm sure at the end of it you will see a major call to prayer. So may God bless you, and may God bless him as he comes to us. Amen.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me clearly? Yes. All right, good afternoon, everybody, again. Is someone working? Okay, cool. Right, so where do I start? Thank you, Trishan. I met Trishan, yes, please, put it on there, please, yeah. About a month ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, she spoke at Hope SDA, where I'm a member. So we met before. So, yeah, I've been in this for, 25 years, not just for, I work for Youth Justice Service. Prior to coming to Youth Justice, I was working for the Probation Service. So Youth Justice about 22, 23 years. I was at Hope where's Tony? Where's Tony? Outside. He's outside. I was at Hope about 3 weeks ago, and this issue came up as part of our lesson study. I made the point, really. And it was, I forget Tony's wife's name. Cynthia, she was in the audience, and we had a chat after. She asked me to come over and put in touch with Tricia right there. Yeah? And here I am. I believe it's really crucial that we have this discussion today. It is a serious, serious problem. For the most part, being in the church, to an extent, we're protected, in inverted commas. I should say sheltered from reality. Now, Trishan over here, I found out you're a barrister. Trishan said to me she actually does work with youth as a barrister, so she has a wealth of knowledge from the legal side of things. I have it from the practitioner side of things. I work with the courts as well, magistrates courts, the Crown courts, and the Old Bailey, and the police, and social care, and education, and drugs, and the list is endless as to the type of agencies we work with to safeguard and rehabilitate young people. Of course, the prison system. Hands up those who are social workers in the audience. Social workers. No social workers? Okay. She's not here. All right. Teachers. Teachers, thank you. Let's say, you're a teacher too? Teachers. We are police officers. Anybody who works with children. Yes. So you have a role to play in, we spoke as well, didn't we, Sharon, before? We have a role to play in protecting children. Members of this church, you have a role to play in protecting children. And where needs arise, we have a referring mechanism to protect children. So hopefully today we'll learn a few things, make you aware there's quite a serious problem. I will start by just talking a quick... Okay, so Trishan, you're going to please just talk. share with us what you know. I'm not a lawyer, and you can help me, really, this presentation. I must say that the information I'm going to provide, I work with the aftermath of what happens to young people. If they get arrested by the police, we deal with the criminal side of things, the rehabilitation side of things. So social care will also be dealing with this, safeguarding, child protection, and the experts in that side will know more about it than I do, believe it or not. We get to know when they get arrested, and we get to know really what's going on when children talk to us, if they do talk to us, if they do. And we get to know by the people who are working with young people, like police, for example, and the lawyers and so on, the real picture of what's happening out there. Please ask questions. Please share what you know. You might have experiences yourself in your own families where you might be affected by exploitation. There's a family in Greenwich who lost a son. You've probably heard about it. Yes. I don't know what's happened. He was 21? 2021? What the police will be doing with that case, the two main inquiry lines they'll make, one is suicide, or is it some criminal involvement? When I say criminal involvement, I'm saying this young guy is a criminal. I'm saying, has he been impacted by? Yeah? Or is it murder, straight murder? Is it he fell off a cliff? I heard he was found in the water, in Dover water, something. It could have been an accident. We don't know. So the police will follow certain lines of inquiry. But one of them, they will not avoid looking at whether this guy has been exploited. He is 21, so exploited children, Trishan, up to 18, legally speaking, yeah? So him being 21, yes, they can still look at exploitation because people are exploited from all walks of life. He could have been somehow involved, we don't know. Please don't say to anybody I said he was involved in crime. That's just saying that a young person dies, they're going to be looking at that line of inquiry as well. I'm going to talk about, quickly, an Osman warning. Who have heard of the Osman warning? Trishan knows about that. Osman warning. An Osman warning came about in 1998 where a young person, the father of a student, a school pupil, was murdered. It's happened in Homerton in London, right here. Yes. It can be. It can be. Yes. It's online. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah. The young person was murdered by a school teacher who had developed an obsession with this young person, a male-on-male obsession. And as this thing grew, the teacher eventually murdered the boy's father. And he also seriously harmed his son. Now, how the name came about is that the family of the deceased and the injured boy took the police to court for this, in that the police should have warned the family of this potential death, murder, because the police were aware of this. To the High Court here, that's right, but it went, yes, to the Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, in that the police should be held accountable to warn people of impending potential serious harm or death. Okay? I'm only using the Osman warning for this reason. Take our discussion today as an Osman warning, that don't ignore what's going on. It's very, very serious. Yeah, take it as an Osman warning for your children. So children, I have to obviously curb my language, because there are kids here, and we don't have any imagery that's too disturbing up there. It's fine. The only most disturbing image is on the weapons, but we see weapons every day, see knives every day. And so our language has to be curbed as a result of that. Okay. Right, let me up here. All right. Now, it's on. Okay. What do we got here? So I start with this text, 1 Peter 5, verse 8. Who would volunteer to read that for me? Now, nice loud voice.
sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5.
Thank you. What's your name? Thank you, Naomi. Thank you very much. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And it's real. This thing is real. And the devil is walking in the form of people. Yeah? He's out there in the form of people. Child exploitation. So the exploitation we're going to talk about will take two main branches. So criminal and sexual exploitation. Yeah? Yes. Right. Oh, sorry. Yes. So exploitation is when someone takes advantage of a child for their own profit or gain. Okay? And it can take different forms. I became aware of this about 5-6 years ago. And I'm in the business, and I don't know this takes place. So we have to be trained. Our training is always updated, as we know, Sharon, right? Constant retraining and upgrading our knowledge on what's going on. Because the society changes every day, the demographics change every single day. We have to be informed. This includes, it's a bit smaller actually, is when a child is manipulated or pressured to take part in criminal activity, including selling drugs. Selling drugs is by far as we're aware. Trishan, am I right? Perhaps is the biggest problem? Selling drugs?
It is. I would say
what would you say?
I would say 50-50.
You hold that right, because that was
I would say it's 50-50 because with the economic crisis, sex exploitation has gone up significantly.
Yeah.
Because mothers find themselves in a very vulnerable and deprived situation, so they then use their children to be exploited so that they can then earn a living.
So
it's
you're saying parents are
Yeah.
sending the children out there?
Well, they're sending them out there, but then they're also, because of the World Wide Web,
Yes.
they then engage in inappropriate sexual practices so that it can be recorded and then sold.
Cool. We're going to come to that. Thank you for making that point. Shall I talk about it now or later? I'll talk about it later. Yes. So about the online exploitation thing, that is a serious problem. Child sexual exploitation, Center 1, is a type of sexual abuse where someone is coerced, manipulated, or this is what Trishan just talking about, or pressured into sexual activity. This might be in exchange for gifts, affection, money, or social status. So there's them that's the two branches of exploitation. So it's criminal and sexual. And then they've got these subheadings beneath the two. Yes. Grooming. Grooming is when a person builds a relationship with a child, young person or an adult who's at risk, so they can abuse them and manipulate them to doing things. Later on, I'll talk about a real case I dealt with where this is concerned. There's few. I'll just give one example later on. I can talk about it because it was in the press. It's not a private. There's no sort of confidentiality involved in this one. The abuse is usually sexual or financial, but it can also include other illegal acts. Okay. This discussion today is for parents to be really on the alert. Okay, you need to be awake, and you know that old saying, "Don't leave any stone unturned." Check everything. Of course, you have to strike a balance between in really unhealthy intrusion in your child's life and being, healthily nosy to know what's going on. So, you've got to build your child's trust. You don't want to sort of lose your child's trust in the whole thing. Types of grooming can take place online, we just mentioned that, or in person. It can happen over a short or long period of time, from days to years. Whilst outside, we were having a chat, Sharon, and Annette was there. And we had a quick chat at this. You see, grooming happens every day. And we talked about relationships, men and women, where a man, you sort of say, people speak with forked tongue. You get a man who knows how to sweet-talk a woman. So you've got two extremes. One, the man with the sweet tongue, and the woman who's vulnerable to that coercion, that sweetness, right? So even women, grown women, are subject to grooming into being abused physically, mentally, and the list goes on. Don't just think this is about children. So use some of the examples for your own sake. Yeah? It's a bit small, I'll battle on. So groomers are good at lying about who they are, okay? Now, all of this information here is all online to read. This is not written by me. I've literally cut and pasted it. It's literally so you can find all that information online. Get online and read it. Educate yourselves, okay? I just put it into order, really. So they lie about who they are, particularly online where they can create a false identity, okay, and pretend to be younger than they are. People can be groomed online through social media networks, text messages, and messaging apps. Sorry, that's me. Is that me? I've gone too far? Yeah. Like WhatsApp, email, text, voice, and video chats in forums, games, and apps. Or in person, a groomer can be a stranger or someone the victim already knows and trusts. And that's the most. That's right. That's the more dangerous, sinister part, because you live with them. They come to your house. You see, when my... Sorry? 100%. If, as a matter, thank you for that, sister. Sister Mwaba. 100%. And, you know, we can spend another 2 hours talking about this one. The church is I shouldn't say a haven, but the environment is there because you trust everybody. You trust Sister Smith and Brother Brown. Yeah. It happens, and it's what? It split the church in half. Yes, 100%. So, by the way, when I said Sister Smith and Brother Brown, I should have said Brother X and Sister Z. Don't offend anybody. You know what I mean anyway, yeah? But yes, it does create serious problems. I've read so many books on abuse, female abuse, and in 100% of the cases, always in the family. The father, the husband, sorry, the father, the brother, the uncle. And don't get it wrong, men are sexually abused too by females. Okay. If I'm getting too strong, just tell me for the children's sake, yeah? So, grooming. Let me talk about this first. Let me pause there, because I'm dealing with the case right now, this young boy, 15, I got the case file, and he'd let me see. In fact, the police had decided, the CPS decided to charge him for just a few of the hundreds of actual offences he committed, where it is concerned with, they call it Child Sexual Abuse Material, CSAM for acronym. And how when I do the assessment, we have to go all the way back, to find out how did he get to this point today. So he'd been convicted of downloading sexually explicit material of children, okay? And because the kids are here, I can't get too graphic, I've got to stop there. Now, but how he got caught up in it was that he plays video games. That comes to the online thing. He plays video games. And his mom, oblivious, you know, and through that means, the people in the games rooms, if that's the right name, games rooms, who young people, who plays computer games, online games? Is it called a games room? Games room? What's it called? Kind of a game, whatever, yeah. So whether they play the games together, I call it a games room for now. Okay, that's where they got him. So the people, he thinks he's playing with kids of his own age, his peer group, but actually it's not. It's older people, older men who are pretending to be children. Watch what your children are watching online. Get to know what they're doing. Don't ignore it. And this guy, he's now on a 5-year sexual harm prevention order. He's only 15. We've been on this for 2021. He's on a year order with me, and he's got to stand on the sex offenders register. It's very serious. And this guy is affecting his future employment, education. And let me add to this guy. So if there are any parents who have children who have ASD or any learning disability, be very vigilant, because with that disability, the vulnerability is higher. Now, Sharon, you work with children of learning needs, special needs. Now, you said outside that perhaps in some sense they're less vulnerable. In another sense, they are more vulnerable. You want to talk about that? Where's the microphone? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Talk about that for a second. There it is.
Thank you, darling.
Why?
Yeah, what we were talking about was, because I work with PMLD. We have got children with ASD as well, and that's autism and mild learning difficulties, mild to moderate learning difficulties. So we were talking about the vulnerabilities of those children. The ones with the PMLD, yeah, they are vulnerable as well. However, I think it's more difficult because if they're in wheelchairs and things like that, it would be others, I suppose, using them for transportation and whatever,
right.
because using their equipment
Right.
and that to hide stuff. So,
yeah, that's good. I mean, in terms of whilst there's some, in some sense, because of their needs, they are kind of hidden from the exploitation. But in another side, where kids have other learning difficulties, there is a vulnerability because of their difficulty in recognizing the grooming side of things.
Because they can use them, and you will get children who will listen more to various things than others. That's right. If there's somebody who's influential enough for those children, they can get them to do things that you wouldn't want them to do.
Thank you, Sharon. Thanks. So my young person, he's autistic. He's not high on the spectrum, quite low on the spectrum, but nevertheless, he's trusting, very trusting, and not really questioning things, and as we would. See, a lot of our ASD young people do things in see things in black and white. So that's another, and so so he's caught up in this as well. And if the children weren't there, I'd told a bit more about the things, the kind of content that is available to these children. And if you talk about the dark web as well, who's heard of the dark web? The dark web. And he talks about the dark web. He said to me, I can show you how to get there, This boy's 15. But then he started on this pornography, and let's be very careful. Pornography is adult, 18 upwards. There's no such thing as child pornography. That's changed. It is child sexual abuse material. Very precise, because a child cannot consent to becoming an actor in that type of situation. Signs of grooming, you can see it. Are they spending more or less time than usual online or on their devices, Do they seem upset or withdrawn? We had some training recently. You called Blue Whale, there's a thing going around called Blue Whale a few years ago. It was an online game. These things are always out there. What the new ones are, I don't know. But online, there are people who will groom your children into harming themselves. Now, Blue Whale was about committing suicide, joint suicide. Yeah? Someone recognize it? Yeah. So all of this is going on the internet. We could spend 6 hours just talking about the internet alone. Yeah? And we had some training on the various types of apps that are out there which have the potential to groom your children. I don't have it with me because I didn't. That was some years ago. Are they using, there you go, sexual language? We would expect them to know. Are they spending more time away from home or going missing for periods of time? The reason why I'm saying this young man from Greenwich, the police will look at that the line of potential grooming, he'd been missing for nearly 2 weeks. You know, let's not talk about him, but someone in that similar situation where they've gone missing for 2 weeks, and later we're going to talk about the kind of places where they end up at, okay? Being missing. A person won't know they're being groomed. They will trust their abuser who's giving them lots of attention and gifts. And, you know, if a child is not being properly looked after in the house, and anecdotally, over the years I've been doing this, yeah, I've not actually done a proper survey. If I did, you'll find something in the region of over 85% of our cases are single-parent families, or I should say the reverse, where the fathers are not involved. This is not a criticism of single mothers. Never would I do that. I'm saying where the fathers are not supporting the family, that's a perfect, it's just part of it, part of a wider problem. Tricia, and please contribute when you can, yeah, because you said you've had so many cases that you've dealt with. You can give us an example or two when you're ready, yeah? When you're ready, yeah. And so, not to criticize fathers either, but we're criticizing the situation where the reality is where fathers are not present, particularly in the lives of boys, particularly. You know, my nephew, he's 41 now, his father just ran off, you know. And thank God he's got uncles, myself and my other brother. He's a very good sax player now. It was my other brother who mentored him. He didn't know what he was doing at the time. He was at school, 13, 12, 34. And my brother, being crazy on music, he's played here before. He said, hey, it's a saxophone. You know, that changed his life. And he got involved in a band in the school. And when he used to play up, my sister would say, Ben, come and sort him out for me, you know. He'd be trashing the house and breaking things. I'd be coming and sit on him and talk to him. He's got family now, and just sometimes it takes just a little intervention from someone to kind of change someone's trajectory. So I'm just saying how important fathers are. And you see that it's, you know, statistically speaking, the figures are there. If 80-something% of our fathers are not present and the kids are involved in crime, there's something to look at, isn't there? There's some questions to be asked as to what's going on. Groomers always warn their victims to not talk about what's going on. Okay, it can be difficult to tell if someone is being groomed. It's not always obvious. It's not always obvious. Signs to look for, they're being secretive, how they're spending their time. Do they have an older boyfriend or girlfriend? New clothes, trainers, like, you know, designer gear, the expensive stuff. Are they turning up with things that you didn't buy them? Now, when I remember I was about, 8, 9, came home. Well, I was at school in Manchester. And this guy said, hey, I like your, I had a tennis ball. He said, give me your tennis ball and you can have my baseball cap. I said, yeah, quick exchange. Come home. My mum said, where you get that cap from? Now, you know what I'm saying, right? Good Caribbean Adventist parents. Where you get that cap from? I know I'm in trouble now, isn't it? I'm in trouble. He said, take it right back to where you kick it. I didn't understand why my mum was so serious about this. But nothing was coming to that house that she didn't buy me. It wasn't going to happen, you know. And these things happen. Now, let me just pause a little bit more. It happens a lot. Come back to single-parent families. I'm not demonizing anybody. I'm just talking about the reality where single parents are hard up. Unemployment benefit, the bills are high. Our utility bills are high. Trisha, I think you mentioned something, didn't you? Yes, where... Yeah, talk about that, please, yeah.
I don't know, I think the cases I do, they're private, so I'm quite careful because we're live. So you will never hear about what's really happening. And sadly, I know far too much that has led me to the belief that we're living in a society that is hellish and depraved. Now, the majority of grooming doesn't necessarily take place online. It's when it comes to sexual abuse, that is. It's usually single mothers who then finds a new boyfriend. So the boyfriend was never interested in mom. The boyfriend was interested in the children. So they groom mom to then get to the children. And it used to be girls that were the victim, but more and more it's boys that they're targeting. I had a case recently where it's a single mother, lovely lady with her 3 girls. Man comes from abroad, says he's a pastor, moves in with them. All 3 girls end up with STIs. We investigate, and we then find out the source of the sexual transmitted disease. So the primary problem is, and I know you mentioned it's not demonizing single parents, but it's a part of our fallen world, isn't it? Where the family unit has been broken down and Satan has basically trampled all over that area. So we find a lot of that happening with children. And the sad reality, he's probably going to encounter more the stories that you will know about, because if they do get prosecuted, the people who are involved in these really terrible things, they come to my area of the law because in the criminal court, the burden of proof is, and the standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt. So oftentimes the Crown Prosecution Service isn't able to prosecute them because the children, 3/4 of the time they don't talk or they don't want to talk.
Yep.
So they come to us and we've got a lower standard of proof, which is on the balance of probability. So we then get to them, we then go to court because everything's about human rights, remove the children, then go through some lengthy process. Then because the standard of proof is so low, even if the criminal courts don't deal with these individuals, we then say that they are responsible for this atrocity, and then we get injunctions against them. So, for example, this man might never be able to, without notifying the police, start a new relationship. So if the woman has got children, then they fly under the radar. So, what's happening out there, I don't want to scare anybody, but it is so dark that me personally, I seldom trust anyone with children. It's because of what I've seen. It's like daily, the kind of things that I can't even begin to tell you in live that happens. So basically, the worst thought you can have is happening to children on a daily basis. And we just have to safeguard the ones that you've got in your care. Especially, my warning is to single mothers. I don't care how nice he is, I don't care how Christian he is. Don't believe in men with your children. It doesn't matter. It's better for you to mistrust and then find out that you can trust than trust and then, because, the reality too is that because of the influx in drug use, a lot of women are taking drugs, then they become incapacitated to look after their own children, and Tom, Dick, and Harry passes through. So it is really bad for children. We are lucky, we are sheltered because we are Christians, we are Adventists, but what is happening out there to children, and it's not just even about saying, what can we do to protect them, is that we don't know it's happening.
Yes.
The other thing that's happening is trafficking. So again, you talk about being vigilant, keeping your eyes open. Don't just if you see anything with a child and an adult in public, I always watch, because oftentimes these children are trafficked from parts of the world to come here, and the latest trend is being trafficked for the purposes of witchcraft, believe it or not. So it's just, so we just have to be in constant prayer, and that's all we can do is to pray. But obviously in your own corner, it's just being sensible and looking after children and looking after children. Look, in the church, not saying go around with suspicion and watching everyone, but not everybody needs to be friends with your child, for example. But but the good news is, people like Ben exist. The law is trying to work. Social services is working, but children don't talk. So we have to, in essence, create cases against people where children haven't given us the evidence or rely on medical evidence to get rid of these bad people. And as Ben said, sadly, it's not just men, women are abusing children and increase, because we live in a fallen world. So it's just being vigilant, really.
Thank you. That's Tricia. What you just said, they remind me to just put some add to what you're saying about being educated as parents to recognize what the exploitation looks like so you can actually educate your child. I'll tell you why. Because I have a case, we're online, so I have to be careful, of course. It's a live case, so I can't mention, I've got to be careful what I say. He is, he's been with us for 3 years now on different cases. And he came to us on what we call a pre-court disposal, where he's with us, but he's not gone through the court system, okay? That's how he came to us. Now he's on a court order. And when he got arrested, let me start again. He was convicted in September last year. Forward, other dramas. He got arrested again for quite a serious offence, an indictable offence. Very serious weapons, and I can't go further because we're online. Now, when I interviewed him in the cells in the court, do you think you're exploited? Nah. Of course, I expect him to say no. I have to break it down for him to say this is what exploitation looks like. This is what it is. This is the legal officially there's no legal definition of exploitation.
It's just as the definition he gave at the beginning.
Yes, it's a definition, but the law, there's no one yet. Is that right?
Well, I mean,
it's the kind of, where are they with it?
It's so wide.
Yes.
And it takes so many forms it's just, and I think the exploitation that people typically talk about is what we see in the press, right? So it's the one where the young people are targeted to sell drugs for drug dealers, and the girls are probably groomed, as happened in Birmingham with that very famous case.
Oh, yes.
Because there is no, it's just looking at, is a child in a position to consent to whatever is happening to them? And sadly, it is a no, because no matter, even if the girl says yes, it's the point is she's not at the legal age to give her consent.
Absolutely.
That's
correct.
The definition is, as you said at the beginning, but it just covers so many different things.
That's it. So with this young person, I sat in fact, before I interviewed him in the cells, I had conversation with him twice before to get him to begin to think about, because all the signs were there. For example, he's in care. Right. Now, classic sign, what did I, maybe the one before? Is it there? Going missing, here we go. Going missing, the fourth one down. I will get the report in the morning. Little Johnny, that's not his name, he's gone missing. What time did he leave the placement? 1 o'clock in the morning. Bang. That's a big red flag one time. What's he doing going out at 1 o'clock in the morning? So, and then he's found in some place in a county out there somewhere. We're going to talk about county lines in a minute. Some county. What's he doing there? The boy's 15. How did he get there? He ain't got no money. Train fares are very expensive. How does he get there? So I was walking through King's Cross Station about 3 weeks ago. Police everywhere. That's like, they just swarmed the place. Dogs. They got this guy against the wall, bag on the floor, searching. I thought, let me just watch this. He's definitely in his 20s, this guy. Anyway, opened his bag, a wad of cash. Crisp money. Where does he come from? It's a main line station, it's a main hub, King's Cross. He's come from somewhere. He's collected the cash. You won't find him on the streets. You'll find little boys on the streets. We'll come back to that in a minute. Serious money. But anyway, right, okay, going back to my story. And so this guy, I read out all of the markers for him. This is what exploitation looks like. Boom, boom, boom. Nah, deny. About the third or fourth attempt, he, sitting on remand at Felton, he said, do you know what? I think I'm being exploited. But by this time, the National Referral Mechanism, called the NRM, it's done by the single competent authority, where it's a body that's been set up since, how many years ago? 5 years, 6 years, 6, 7 years ago. The child can be referred by any professional body, teachers, police, us lot, anybody, to the single competent authority where they feel that the child may be exploited. So the police obviously are the first hands at this because they arrest them at those places and trap houses, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so this thing is so serious that even the government has set up this national referral mechanism. What they do is they trawl through arrest records, all types of intelligence with the gangs units to see, where they've been stopped, who they've been stopped with, and what circumstances, piece all kinds of information together to build a picture of whether they've been exploited or not. And sometimes, come back to the legal side again, a child sometimes can be acquitted of a crime. You see, they can be acquitted sometimes. But in the courts nowadays, they're kind of developing a bit of a hatred towards this mechanism because they say, no, our children to be punished for their crimes. But that's another deep story to talk about. Exploitation again, let's see now, here we are, the county lines is common in county lines. So let me define county lines. County lines is, like I said, it includes a county. So we have all our counties in England and in Britain, and the organized crime networks, the drug barons, the guys who are making the money, they go out there and recruiting children, vulnerable children, to become their mules. Now, Holloway Prison was full of female mules. You know what I mean by that? Women coming in with... He doesn't understand. Right, so a mule is typically sending women, classically from maybe Africa and the Asian countries, carrying drugs into this country, okay, organized by, again, drugs networks. So again, adults are vulnerable to this as well. But similar kind of problem where they've been given drugs to sell, they send them out to the counties, give them, travel fare, travel money, and they go to those places and sell drugs on the streets, but we'll break that down in a while. And the county line, the line there, is really it's a dedicated phone line that they use. It's not on a contract. It's like the pay-as-you-go lines. They can't be traced. The SIM cards are nameless, obviously, so they burn a phone. You know the burner phones? It's a burner phone. And so they give the child that mobile. They send them out to these places, sometimes 2-3 weeks at a time, sleeping some really nasty places. So the county lines, let me see, exploitation is common in county lines and occurs when an individual or group takes advantage of an imbalance of power to coerce, control, manipulate, or deceive a child or young person under the age of 18. Which child, who's 13 here, 14? 13, 14-year-old child? 15, 12? I see one there. How old are you? How old are you? This young man in the white shirt? How old are you? 14. Classic age. See, what's your name? Myris? Miles. I wasn't hearing properly. Miles, sorry, Miles. Miles might be walking down the street. And, you want to make some money. I'm saying not Miles, but, I'm just saying a 14-year-old, What's your favorite trainer? Nike. And what's the most expensive Nike out there that you know of in the shops? Air Jordans, about how much? £300 maybe? Thereabouts. Now, which 14-year-old would say no to £300 Air Jordans and £200 a week? Sometimes £500 a week. Which child's going to say no to that? Then add a layer onto that if it's a single-parent household, and when you're desperate, when we are desperate, that's where God comes into the picture. You're desperate for money, the bills are high, and which mother is going to say to the child, well, No, don't do it. There are many parents who actively encourage the children to earn that money. We do them all the time. And when you know the parents are involved, when the parents become very guarded, they don't answer no questions. I've got a kid right now supervising when he was arrested in February for cannabis, cocaine, and whatever else. 810 pounds on his pocket. But now, who comes to his defense? His auntie. I've got to be careful what I'm saying here. Careful. Right. Let me stop there. And so I'm just saying is I've got to be careful. So I'm not saying she's... You get my point, right? Yes. Maybe I should come offline, actually. Shall we take this offline? Take it offline. Yeah, take it offline, please, yeah.